Hello, everybody. We are back with yet another amazing grant opportunity. This one is super easy. I know I say this about all of them, but this one, you don't even have to write an essay. The questions are drop down options. So either you fit into the categories or you do not fit into the categories. A few things about this grant or minority, so women, African American, Latino, if you have a disability, if you're a part of the military, that's one of the items that's on the list as well. With this one, they are looking for someone that has been in business for at least 1 year. So if you're a newbie, this isn't the grant for you, but I always recommend that any grant that I post, you write it down because at some point you're going to be eligible within your business, and these opportunities are typically annual. It's not a one-time deal unless it's the PPP money or stuff like that, but this ain't it. So definitely write it down, listen to the requirements, because I know you could probably decide, I don't want to listen to the rest of the video, it doesn't apply to me, but you can now start preparing yourself for these types of grants. If you know what the requirements are, you can start working towards that. So when you do hit the mark, you can apply and know that you will likely get approved, or at a minimum, you will make it past the eligibility page. So that's the first thing, 1 year in business. The second one, 2 employees. Now, this part is a little confusing because we're going to walk through the application as we always do. But one of the questions says, how many employees are contractors? And there's just one number. You don't get to say I have 1 employee, 1 contractor. So I don't know if they are counting contractors as employees, but we'll have a whole nother course on employees versus independent contractors, because you really can't legally, you can't label a contractor an employee, but that's a whole nother bag. But it looks like, based off of their drop-down menu, that the contractors are included in this definition of employee. That's the second one. The third one is you have to have a net of at least $100,000. Now, I don't know if you've met that threshold yet, but again, if you haven't, write it down so you know the first year that you hit that, this is one of the grants you want to apply for immediately. So those are our 3 main requirements: $100,000, a year in business. Oh, it's 4. 2 employees at least, and then you're a minority business. This grant is for $5,000. And as I said, this is an easy application. Before we get into the video, if you get anything out of this video, if you like the content that I'm putting out, if you can please like this video, it helps with the algorithm. If you could subscribe to my channel, because that then lets YouTube know that, hey, she's putting out information that our users are interested in, and then YouTube will promote me as well without me having to pay for anything. And you get something free, which is this grant, and I get some free promotion from YouTube. So it's a win-win. Now, one final thing. I get a lot of questions about whether or not I can assist with grant writing. Unfortunately, that is currently not a service that I am providing. The reason that I'm not providing that service is because I tend to find grants that, in my opinion, you do not need a grant writer to write your answers. The questions will say, tell us about your business. As the owner, you know about your business. You know what you're looking for. And then if you've watched any of my previous videos, and there's, I think, 6 or 7 different grants that are currently on my YouTube channel, and the majority of them are for $50,000. You only get 200 words or 500 characters. So you're going to hire someone to write potentially a couple of paragraphs. If that's what you think is going to be best for you to get that grant, I recommend it. But my goal is to find grant opportunities like the one we're about to get into today, where you don't need a grant writer. If you need a grant writer to do some drop downs, then you might need to reevaluate your business and how you are operating. With all of that being said, as you all already know, the next step will be for me to share my screen and for us to walk through this grant. Leave a comment if you have any questions about this grant as we're going through it. But as I said, this grant is pretty simple. 1 second. Okay. So before we get into the application, this is going to be the homepage. I also forgot to tell you, there is a $37 application fee. I don't know why my screen just stopped sharing. So let me try it one more time. All right, we're back. $37 application fee. This is the first grant that I've posted. This is the first grant that I found where there is an application fee. However, I still think this is a great opportunity if you fit within the parameters of the requirements. Another thing we want to discuss is that the deadline is February 3rd. So you have plenty of time to apply for this application that should only take you, I said apply for the application, apply for the grants, not the application. That should only take you 5 minutes to complete. As with the last grant that I posted, they're making decisions fairly quickly. The winners will be announced on March 31st. So I recommend applying early if you can. You don't want anything to happen because maybe if there's a hiccup and they have to reach out to you, then if that gives you a little bit of time. And as I said, this grant is entirely too easy for you to wait to the last minute to apply. So we're just going to scroll through a little bit about Enrich Her. So that is the website, Enrich Her, one word, .com. And I know I'm probably not saying her right because I am from St. Louis and you know we got the so bear with me with that one. But I'm going to scroll through, let you see what they're talking about. It connects, you know, companies that are led by women and founders of color to capital, coaching, and community. So another thing, when these grants on here, I think there's a section for you to give them your email address. Give them your email address because sometimes they offer free webinars, other grants that you will have first access to versus having to find it via myself on YouTube or somewhere else. So once you get any of these companies that I list on these channels, make sure you go ahead and get on their email list because this company, they're partnered with a lot of companies and you'll see that as well because one of the questions was asking, how did you hear about the grant? And the list of people that they partner with, they have some amazing grants too. So it kind of just puts you in the know, whereas you then won't have to pay for different grant information that they are offering to the community. And they also have loan opportunities as well and other venture capital. One other thing that I forgot, one of the requirements is that eventually you will either look for investors, have investors, but you can always say that your vision today is that and not be, I'm not saying lies to the people now, but businesses, their visions change. And I had a vision for a company that I'm no longer operating. So I know they're not going to hold you to the fire for anything like that. I'm just scrolling through to get to some of the ease of what they're talking about for us. There's a bunch of links for you to apply for funding. Their goal is for the funding to be an easy application. With that, I'm going to go into the application. I'm not going to click on the apply for funding only because it's going to start my application all the way over. So I've already completed the application in order for us to quickly walk through the application versus you all having to watch me type in things that you don't need for me to type in. All right. So here is the application. And as I said, it should take you 5 minutes to complete. You also have to be a US based business. Unlike the previous grant that allowed US and Canada, this one is for the US only. And we will have international grants as the channel grows and as I get more videos out. So if you're not in the US, just stay subscribed because international is definitely coming for you. So here, simple information. You want your name, email address. What are you looking for? Are you looking for a grant? Are you looking for a loan? Do you want to just get information about all of their different funding options? If you click on you want to view all their funding options, they're going to ask for your credit score and then how much funding you're seeking. Since that's not what we're looking for, we're just going for the grant. US citizen, and then your business is based in the US. All right. Your phone number. This is not my number. Please do not call this number. It's probably a real business number because one thing I can say about St. Louis, they love giving these simple phone numbers so you can remember the phone number. So please do not call this number looking for me. Address, clearly, I don't think there's a YouTube lane. This is not my address. City, state, and then the diversity questions. The gender diversity of your company, I put led by majority Black, Latina, Latinx, people of color team, but there's all these different options and you'll know which one you fit in. It's apparent that, one of these needs to be applicable to you for this grant. A military affiliation, I do not. I'm affiliated. My brother's in the military, but I don't think they're going to care about that because he's not an owner in my business. LGBTQ plus, do you identify as such? Yes or no? Do you consider yourself to be an individual with a disability? Yes or no? Next. Company name, website, what type of business entity, you pick whichever one it is. How many employees? This is the question I said where it's a bit confusing, right? Because it says employees and contractors, but one of the requirements is that you got to have at least 2 employees. The 2 can include yourself. So it has to be you and one other person. So I do not know. Okay, so do not hold me to the fire because this is very confusing how it is being asked of the applicants because they're including the contractors in this number. So if I'm reading it, how they're presenting it, I'm going to conclude that my contractors counts as my 2 for having a minimum of 2 employees. But I could be wrong. So maybe email them, figure that part out. However, if you apply and then you find out that you're not eligible after having a conversation with them, I would explain that the application was a bit confusing because in one breath it said employees, but then you all combined employees and contractors as if you were viewing them as one and the same. And it should have been a separate question if the contractors are not going to be included in my minimum of 2 employees requirement. But that's just the lawyers talking because, we good with words. And maybe they'll say, you know what, you're right. We should have separated the question. Or maybe they'll say, that's actually what we meant. So who knows? Your revenue, I put 100 to 250. They have these options for less than 25, between 25. This is to determine if you're eligible for the grant. I keep reminding myself that. However, once you get to the end of this, it does state that they're looking for net of 100K, minimum of 100K. So if you're putting anything under 100K, you wouldn't be eligible for this grant. And when I put less than 100,000, they allowed me to get all the way to the end of this application. and get ready to pay the $37 application fee. It's not until the end where there's a pop-up, and not necessarily a pop-up. It says, check here that you read the terms and conditions. The lawyer read all the terms and conditions, and one of them in there was 100,000. And I do believe that an individual could potentially, because they've made it all the way to the end of this application, click yes, I read it, because everyone knows terms and conditions are super long. It's super legally, super confusing sometimes for a layperson. And now you've paid $37 as an application fee for a grant that you don't even not apply for. That you're not even eligible for. And what they're going to say is, well, you said you read the terms, and one of the requirements was 100K. And that's not our fault that you paid a fee when you shouldn't have paid, because we still had to look at your application. They're charging for their time. So they still had to look at your application to determine that you weren't eligible. I personally think that they should, at the beginning of apply, on that first page, all of that should be listed before you get all the way to the end of this application and realize that you're not eligible. And I also hope that at this point you have liked my video, because if you would have gave these people $37 and realized that you were not making $100,000, that would have been bad. So like, if you can appreciate that, because I just saved you $37 if you're not making $100,000, leave me a comment and let me know if you made it to this part and say, thanks, you saved me $37, or thanks for reading the terms and conditions for me. And then subscribe, because this is why I do what I do on this channel, is to help people walk through some of these applications that, even with this one only taking 5 minutes, you could have tripped up and spent $37 unnecessarily. And then they ask you, what is your industry? I put education for mine. This is construction. So the gentleman that's been asking me about the construction industry, here's a grant that is for you. So if you are in that industry and you are watching this video as you watched the previous video, here you go. And if you're making 100K, you can get $5,000. We're going to go to the finance. We finished that. Marketing. How did you hear about us? YouTube would be your answer, unless you already knew about it and you're just watching me walk through the application. But this is why I was saying, where look at all of these community partners that they have. So there are so many people that they are partnering with in order to push this grant out. So look at that sometimes, because that will give you information about other organizations that are providing grants. And again, you won't have to pay for some of these. Now, every grant you're not going to know about, and you will likely have to pay something if you're going into a phase where you want to crank out 50 to 100 grants a year. Yes, but this is just a tip on how to find organizations that likely have grants on their website. When you apply for a grant, really peruse the list of how did you hear about us, besides looking for YouTube or Google or Facebook or any of those things. Check out who they're partnering with, and then go to their website and see if they have any grants. Terms and conditions, because I already opened it, they will not let me see them again, which I don't like that, because what if I read them and I said, you know what, did I read that correctly? And I wanted to go back and read it. I don't see a way for me to reopen it because I've already looked at it. And we're at the end of this grant application. We could proceed to check out. However, I am not applying, so I will not be doing this portion of the $37 for this grant application. As always, thank you so much for watching with me. Thank you all for the well wishes when I was sick last week. It made me feel so good. And I hope that you got something out of this. And look at this. I guess I should have clicked here, because It's $37, and then there, I guess this might be tax. I don't know what the $5.55 is for. So it's really $42.55 to apply for this grant opportunity that I found through Enrich Her. Again, like if you got anything out of it, subscribe if you want to see more of these videos and you want to know when I am going live. Leave me a comment to let me know what you thought. Other videos that you're looking for, I've already gotten 2 requests for the construction industry and then also the beauty industry. So I'm going to be looking for grants that you all would like to see, especially my subscribers, because I appreciate the fact that you are going on this journey with me, right? And that's the least I can do for your subscribe, because I'm potentially getting free marketing from YouTube, the more subscribers that I have and the more engagement that I have from you all. With that being said, enjoy the rest of your day, and I will see you all next time when I post next week's grant. And don't forget, Monday, we're going live, 6 p.m. Central Standard Time, and we are going to dissect the $600 Cash App reporting to the IRS. There's a lot of misinformation out there, ways to circumvent and not have to pay. Now, you can play with a lot of people. IRS is not one of them, because even if it takes them 2 years, 3 years, 4 years, they will circle back and find you. And you feel like they don't care because it's such a small dollar amount. They sat behind and figured out how much they're losing via Cash App, Venmo, PayPal, family, friends, etc. So definitely tune in Monday at 6 p.m. Central Time if that's something that interests you and your business. Goodbye.